Hey everybody, Hexbus here. Looks like Maduro has been transferred to court with his wife. They are currently in right now. This is some sort of preliminary hearing, and then they're expecting this to be a pretty long, lengthy thing. They're trying to figure out the legality, if Maduro can even be charged in U.S. for his crimes, being a head of state. So, go ahead and get this going.
Underway, the judge reading the summary of charges against Maduro, including narco-terrorism conspiracy, and Maduro telling the judge, quote, "I was captured," as he makes his first court appearance. More information also, this just seconds ago as well by the Associated Press. Maduro has pleaded innocent in the courtroom, telling the judge, quote, "I am a decent man, the president of my country." So those are the statements that Maduro has just made as he makes his first
Decent man,
appearance
huh?
before the judge, pleading innocent in court, telling the judge, quote, "I am a decent man, the president of my country," also telling the judge, "I was captured," as he makes his first court appearance on drug trafficking charges. So all of this coming in as the media is allowed to watch in overflow rooms. In the courtroom itself, there are no recording devices allowed. However, reporters and members of the public are allowed to watch in the overflow room via courtroom monitors. So we did want to share that with you. The defense attorneys and prosecutors announcing their appearances. The judge, who can't be seen on courtroom monitors, is presiding, announcing that he...
What do you guys think? Do you think that Maduro should be charged in the U.S., or do you guys think he's immune?
We are continuing to follow all of the very latest, and coming up after the break, we are going to be speaking with a Fox Multimedia reporter, Kaylee Schuyler, as she is live outside of the federal courthouse. We are going to speak with her in just a moment, but for now, we're going to step away for a break. We'll be right back.
Clearly been exposed to the serious and unpredictable consequences of the irresponsible conduct.
Meantime, guys, I've been following the UN Security Council emergency meeting regarding this Venezuela issue. Here's Cuba now.
Stability. On the 23rd of December, in this very body, we set out the sequence and escalation of actions carried out by the United States with the aim of overthrowing by force the legitimate and constitutional government of Venezuela and destroying the civic military union. The United States resorted to various maneuvers to materialize its plans for domination, including vile extrajudicial executions and acts of piracy, maritime terrorism against oil tankers and their crews in international waters of the Caribbean Sea, as well as the imposition of an illegal naval blockade against Venezuela and the politically motivated designation of its legitimate government as a foreign terrorist organization. Previously, it had subjected that country to prolonged unilateral coercive measures, economic asphyxiation, smear campaigns, and attacks against some of its important institutions, exposing it to a cruel psychological war. With absolute disrespect for the Charter of the United Nations and international law, including relevant resolutions adopted by this Council and by...
Yeah, I didn't think they were going to like it too much, because this is really bad for Cuba, guys. They get all their oil from Venezuela. It's going to crash.
And in an unacceptable and barbaric act, kidnapped its legitimate president, Nicolás Maduro, and his companion, Cilia Flores. Cuba condemns in the strongest terms the military aggression of the United States against Venezuela, while categorically reiterating its absolute support and solidarity with the Venezuelan people, and joins the demand that the government of the United States release the constitutional president, Nicolás Maduro Moros, and his companion, Cilia Flores. In the criminal attack perpetrated by the United States, actions missions. They were carrying out missions on behalf of the Revolutionary Armed Forces and the Ministry of the Interior at the request of counterpart bodies of that country. Our compatriots honorably fulfilled their duty and fell after fierce resistance in direct combat against the attackers or as a result of the bombings of the facilities. Through their heroic actions, they upheld the solidarity sentiments of millions of our compatriots. Mr. President, the cowardly U.S. aggression against Venezuela is a criminal act in violation of international law and the UN Charter. It constitutes a dangerous escalation.
The Security Council should remain urgently seized of this matter. All member states should refrain from unilateral threats, coercive measures, or armed actions undertaken outside the authority of the UN Security Council. In closing, Mr. President and distinguished members of the Council, peace and the survival of humanity depend on whether the United Nations Charter remains a living instrument of international law or is allowed to wither into irrelevance. That is the choice before this Council today. Thank you very much.
Oh, I don't know what happened there, guys. Sorry about
It's
that.
based on the aberrant doctrine of peace through force and undermines the stability and peace that have characterized our Latin American and Caribbean region for years. It seeks to promote a change in the constitutional order of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela, freely chosen by its people. Its ultimate objective is not the false narrative of combating drug trafficking, but control over Venezuela's land and natural resources, as has been openly and shamelessly declared by President Trump and his Secretary of State. This is an imperialist and fascist aggression with objectives of domination that seeks to revive the U.S. hegemonic ambitions over our America, anchored in the outdated Monroe Doctrine. It also seeks to intimidate and subjugate the governments of Latin America.
And from what Trump says, he plans on rebuilding their infrastructure, bringing our companies over, all their infrastructure is very old, outdated. It's not working. And we plan to, give this back to the people. One day they could be a rich nation again.
And peoples of the world to condemn the U.S. military aggression against Venezuela and to confront this act of state terrorism that threatens international peace and security and seeks to impose a new doctrine of U.S. imperialist domination in Latin America and the Caribbean and in the world. Mr. President, the recent statements about imperialist plans to steer Venezuela toward a supposed safe, appropriate and prudent transition are totally unacceptable. In the U.S. vision of domination, this means imposing a puppet government functional to its predatory goals, particularly unrestricted access to and plundering of natural resources that, by right, belong to the Venezuelan people. Determining the destiny of Venezuela is an exclusive right of its people, without external interference. If the U.S. government, lacking any moral authority whatsoever, truly cared about the peace, freedom and justice of Venezuelan men and women, it would not have bombed that territory with absolute disregard for the lives, sovereignty and territorial integrity of that nation. I conclude by reaffirming our unwavering adherence to the proclamation of Latin America and the Caribbean as a zone of peace, and by calling for action with the firmness and determination that current circumstances demand, always in defense of international law and of the future of peace for all the peoples of our America and of the world. Thank you.
Yeah, guys, I really didn't think Cuba was going to appreciate that at all. I know Argentina gave us a lot of support.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Latin America and the Caribbean is a zone of peace, declared by the Community of Latin American and Caribbean States, CELAC, on behalf of all of the peoples and governments of our region. This zone of peace must be fully
por todos los gobiernos
respected
del
by
mundo,
all governments
sin
of the world
excepción,
without exception,
y en especial
and in
por
particular
los miembros de
by
este
the members
Consejo
of
de
this
Seguridad
Security Council
responsable por la paz
responsible
y
for
seguridad
international
internacional.
peace and security.
Esta decisión,
This decision,
deseos y aspiraciones de nuestros
these
pueblos
desires and aspirations of our
son una
peoples
aportación noble
are a
a la
noble
paz mundial,
contribution to world peace,
al derecho
to international
internacional,
law,
a
and
la Carta
to the
de Naciones
United
Unidas.
Nations Charter.
Señor presidente, Nicaragua
Mr. President,
respalda lo expresado
Nicaragua
por la
supports
presidenta
what
interina de
was
Venezuela,
expressed by the interim
Delcy
president
Rodríguez,
of Venezuela,
que
Delcy
pide la
Rodriguez,
liberación inmediata
calling
del
for the
presidente
immediate
constitucional
release of the
y
constitutional
legítimo
and
de
legitimate
Venezuela.
president of Venezuela,
Yep, so they're
Nicolás Maduro
y la
Moro,
primera
backing up
víctima
Venezuela.
the
Cilia Flores.
Check
first
back over on the
writer
trial
of
real
the
quick. See where we're at there. Oh, I guess we're not anywhere there.
Estados miembros de
country,
Naciones
Cilia
Unidas
Flores.
tenemos el deber
All
de
member states
respetar
of
el
the United
derecho
Nations
internacional,
have the duty to
el
respect
espíritu, los
international law,
propósitos y
the
principios
spirit,
de
the
la Carta
purposes
de
and
Naciones
principles of
Unidas,
the United Nations Charter,
el derecho a la
the
soberanía,
right to sovereignty,
autodeterminación,
self-determination,
integridad
territorial
territorial de los
integrity of
estados,
states,
la no injerencia, la
non-interference,
convivencia
and
pacífica.
peaceful coexistence.
El pueblo venezolano
The
es
Venezuelan
el pueblo
people
digno de Bolívar,
are
de
a
Chávez,
dignified
de
people,
Maduro,
the people of Bolivar,
e
of Chavez,
históricamente
and of Maduro,
indoblegable,
and
que defiende su soberanía
they have
y su
never
derecho a la paz.
bowed the knee.
Nicaragua
They defend their right to
siempre
sovereignty
estará con
and
Venezuela.
their right to peace. Nicaragua will always
La
stand
paz
with
ha
Venezuela.
sido profundamente
Peace
herida
has been
y la familia humana,
deeply damaged, and the
la
human
comunidad de
family, the
naciones,
community of nations,
los pueblos del
the
mundo,
peoples of the world,
urgimos que se reinstale
we urge all
como
of you
absoluto reflejo
to
de la dignidad de todos los pueblos. Muchas gracias.
respect the dignity of all peoples. Thank you.
I thank the representative of Nicaragua for the statement, and now give the floor
Yo.
to the representative of Trinidad and Tobago.
I am calling for Matthew.
Yeah, this is him.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Matthew, my name is Katie.
The
calling
delegation
with
of Trinidad and Tobago
story in the pub-
thanks the Security Council for convening this urgent meeting
mail out of your
following the recent developments in the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela.
and everything, so wanted to provide the
My delegation addresses this council today as a Caribbean nation, a neighbor
Okay, yeah, what
of
was the final
Venezuela,
cost?
and a long-standing advocate for peaceful coexistence and the rule of law. The government of Trinidad and Tobago has
Okay.
taken note of the military operations undertaken by the
Yeah.
United States.
And then after
in
that, how much is
Venezuela.
it monthly?
We remain committed to cooperative efforts led by the United States to
Okay.
disrupt and
I
dismantle
called in
networks
a couple days
that
ago,
enable
and I gave you guys a
transnational
credit card.
crime
Should be on
across
file.
the Americas, whose activities have had debilitating effects on the
I appreciate it.
security
Yeah, go ahead and do it.
and
And
stability
send it all
of
out.
the region. Trinidad and Tobago remains steadfast in its support of the United States of America's initiatives
Yes.
that strengthen regional security, reinforce the rule of law,
Yes, please.
and safeguard the well-being of our societies, the Americas.
MTKINSEY
The government of
at
Trinidad and
gmail.com.
Tobago, while valuing its long-standing and robust partnership with the United States, remains equally committed to maintaining a constructive and respectful relationship with the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela, and
Okay,
continues
beautiful.
to
I appreciate it.
uphold peaceful relations with the people of
You too, take care.
Venezuela. The delegation of Trinidad and Tobago wishes to underscore its long-standing relationship with both the United States and Venezuela, and stands ready to work collaboratively with all partners who share the aspiration of a safer, more prosperous and stable hemisphere. Mr. President, I thank you.
I thank
All
the
right, let's go back over and check the trial and see if that's moving at all. Yeah.
But they had plans. They had the plan B. And reporting is that once President Trump saw Maduro doing some dancing thing during Christmas week, he's like, okay, this guy's not taking us seriously.
Right.
He thinks we're bluffing, and we have to show them that we're not bluffing, and here we are.
So
You shouldn't have danced.
The prosecutors have had to present evidence to this to get this superseding
Yes,
indictment. Is that a whole new grand jury?
Well,
we don't know.
Usually it's not.
Okay.
And again, for those guys who just joined the stream, Maduro and his wife are right now inside this courtroom, going through some sort of preliminary arraignment. Again, they're kind of expecting kind of a lengthy process, kind of a fight to determine if it's even legal to charge him in the U.S. being a foreign head of state. So that's what we're waiting on.
Case from the late 80s, early 90s, is that even if he seized illegally, if he gets convicted here, the conviction stands and the jail term stands. Basically, we just get a slap on the wrist for saying, hey, you shouldn't have grabbed him that way. But even though you grabbed him the wrong way, he's still going to face charges, and if he's convicted, he's still going to go to jail.
Now, how different is this from what we would say,
Yeah, and two, like, at the end of the day, say we convict him, and the United Nations is upset. What are they going to do about it? You know, there's nothing anybody can do.
Because when the drug kingpins get arrested, there's not miles and miles of security and protesters. And to me, Lisa, it seems like most people from Venezuela who was here I was speaking to and listening to, they're very happy about this. Right. They're excited to go back to their country, and they're kind of cheering on this prosecution, which is kind of interesting from their point of view. But it seems like Judge Hellerstein is just conducting things. I mean, he's done this thousands of times, and I don't know if I'm exaggerating when I say thousands of times. He's been on the bench since President Clinton.
Wow.
So in a minute or two, we're gonna find out what an adjourned date is.
Right.
When were they gonna find out when to come back to court?
Well, that's good news. It sounds like we don't have an activist judge. We have a real judge who's going to take this seriously.
Is it possible at all to
In New
separate
York.
the politics from this as a criminal case?
Judge says he will see everyone in court on St. Patrick's Day. We'll be spending St. Patty's Day together, Lisa. March 17th, and now the defendants are being let out. So it's over. The arraignment is officially over. They'll be back on St. Patty's Day.
Wow, so he's got to stay detained.
In the meantime, the prosecutors are tasked with...
Till St. Patty's Day.
To the defense attorneys, and they have to look at what's legal, what's illegal, what they're going to try to push back that the jury should never see. And obviously his defense attorney is going to make a motion about the way he was seized and the fact that he's head of a sovereign state. He shouldn't be here anyway.
So since there was no bail application at this particular hearing,
they're entitled to do that at any time.
But do they go back to MDC, or can they?
Oh, no. They're going to MDC. I mean, they're going unless there's some absolutely unique
medical
circumstance
thing or something like that.
Right? Yeah, they're going back to MDC, and they'll have special housing. They'll be very separated from everybody. That's the way they'll keep them safe. The way they keep people safe is they just keep them alone, which for someone like him,
how'd that work for Weinstein? I thought he was safe.
All of a sudden, to be sitting there all alone for days and weeks on end, trust me, it is mentally, it's a severe punishment.
So we're going to be down here a lot.
Well, we're going to celebrate St. Patty's Day. I'm wearing a green hat. I must have known we're coming back for St. Patty's Day.
Is there any conceivable way or reason that they could be granted bail?
I don't see that happening.
Granted bail? There's no way.
I mean, look, Puff Daddy put up $50 million, house arrest, nothing in the house, 24 guards, no phone, no internet, and they still didn't let him out. So I don't see that happening.
The federal
talk about flight risk.
The federal court.
I do not see Judge Hellerstein giving bail here.
And this judge, again, we talked about him a little bit earlier, but just to remind everybody, you said he's like he's a straight shooter, right?
He's 92 years old, and he started off the remarks saying, I'm here to make sure everything gets treated fairly and everyone's rights are protected. As a matter of fact, Maduro said, Judge, I want to make sure I could keep my notes. And he said, yes, you could keep your notes. So, no one's gonna bully Judge Hellerstein around that, I can tell you.
So now will the lawyers, okay, so the arraignment is close to being over.
They just said he's out. They said the defendants are led out of the courtroom.
Okay, so then they'll now go back to MDC. The lawyers might talk with them.
So we should see him emerging here anytime, guys.
What would happen is you could go to another floor where they're housed in a jail, and you talk to them through this little screen, which makes your eyes blurry, and you're in a private room, and you get to chat with them, and then they take them back to the MDC.
All right, Arthur Aidala, top criminal defense attorney, thank you so much for being with us. So the arraignment is essentially over, and both Maduro and his wife we're hearing the helicopters coming out right now, will be heading back to MDC tonight. No bail application was made at this time. That may happen in the future. We're live in Lower Manhattan. I'm Lisa Evers, Fox 5 News. Back to you in the studio.
Hey, Lisa, before we let you... All right, and we do thank our Fox 5 New York team for that coverage as you're taking a live look outside of the federal courthouse as Maduro and his wife have pled not guilty to the four federal charges against him. And we now know that Maduro will make his next court appearance on March 17th, as the government attorney is saying that the hearing is over. We're just getting this in. The court proceedings ended at 12:31 p.m. Eastern time after the attorney on behalf of Maduro's wife, Cilia Flores, said that his client sustained, quote, health and medical issues that will require attention. Her attorney said that Flores, who is 69 years old, may have a fracture or severe bruising on her ribs and may need a full x-ray. So that is according to the very latest information from the Associated Press. Both Maduro and Flores have agreed to remain detained for now. Their attorneys could revisit a bail application at a later date. So they were officially taken into law enforcement custody at 11:30 a.m. Saturday, that their plane landed in New York at 4:31 p.m. that very same day. So the very latest information as the prosecutor laid out the custody timeline before Maduro and his wife were led out of the court. So we are continuing to follow that, and we also wanted to share just a little bit more information as you're joining us at this hour as we continue to follow the very latest developments. This is the latest information there on the left-hand side of your screen as you're taking a live look here outside of the federal courthouse. President Trump saying that the United States will run Venezuela after Maduro and his wife were captured. The U.S. carrying out the large-scale military.
Yeah, that means Marco, little Marco Rubio, he's going to be running Venezuela.
Facing narco-terrorism and weapons charges.
For a while.
A live look outside of the federal courthouse as there remains a very heavy police presence. This, as the arraignment has concluded, Maduro telling the judge, quote, I was captured and that I am a decent man, the president of my country. The lawyer saying that the Maduros plead not guilty on all charges, and Maduro repeatedly asserting that he is still the leader of Venezuela. His wife, Cilia Flores, also repeatedly saying in Spanish and then through her interpreter saying, I am the first lady of the Republic of Venezuela.
I don't think they have support of their own people, to be honest.
She responded, not guilty, completely innocent. So Maduro did tell the judge that he had not yet read the indictment against him and had not been informed of his rights, saying through his interpreter, quote, I did not know of these rights. Your Honor is informing me of them right now. The judge responded to Maduro saying that a plea of not guilty will be entered on behalf of Maduro, and Maduro, a second time when asked for his plea, said, quote, I am innocent. I am not guilty of anything that is mentioned here. So we are going to continue to follow all of the breaking news developments. We do know that the next court appearance for Maduro will be March 17th at this federal courthouse as we continue to follow this breaking news. So the arraignment has now concluded. The lawyers have exited. Maduro repeatedly maintaining his innocence, pleading not guilty to all of the charges against him, and repeatedly asserting that he is still the leader of Venezuela. His wife, Cilia Flores, who also appeared before the judge during this arraignment, also asserted her role as Venezuela's first lady. The prosecutors outlining the custody timeline, stating that Maduro and Flores were officially taken into law enforcement custody at 11:30 a.m. on Saturday, and that their plane landed in New York at 4:31 p.m. that very same day. So we are continuing to follow this, as we do know that Nicolás Maduro and his wife Cilia Flores have pleaded not guilty on all charges against him. Maduro telling the judge, quote, I am a decent man, the president of...
So what do you guys think? Do you think that it's legal and just to go there and grab him from his country and put him through trial through U.S. law? Because we have basically indicted him and said that he's, a head of a narco and, narco groups and Trinidad del Agua, and he's working with all those people? Or do you think that the U.S. should respect international law and just let things play out how they are? Right now, that's the debate over the United Nations.
Announced their appearances. Now, the judge couldn't be seen on the monitor. The judge, who was appointed by former President Bill Clinton, announced that he had been assigned to this case, saying, quote, "It's my job to assure this is a fair trial. That's my job, and that's what I intend." No cameras, recording devices were allowed in the courtroom itself. However, we're getting this information from reporters who were allowed to watch the court proceedings from overflow rooms. So those court proceedings have now concluded, with both Maduro and his wife pleading not guilty to the 4 federal charges.
We'll switch back over to the United Nations while you wait on Maduro to emerge from the courtroom.
Ability of the immunities accorded to heads of states and government under international law, while renewing its unwavering solidarity with the Venezuelan people in their ongoing struggle for defending their homeland, including through the actions it may take within the framework of international law to exercise its inalienable right to self-defense. The member states of the Group of Friends in Defense of the Charter of the United Nations demand for the immediate cessation of all hostilities against the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela, for the full respect for the sovereignty, territorial integrity, political independence, and inalienable right to self-determination of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela, for the immediate return of President Nicolás Maduro and First Lady Cilia Flores de Maduro to the Venezuelan national territory, and for those responsible for these acts of aggression to be held accountable. The Group of Friends of the Charter of the United Nations firmly reject the remarks delivered by the President of the United States of America during the afternoon of 3rd January 2026, in which he not only threatened with additional airstrikes against the Venezuelan territory, but also claimed to resolve to occupy and govern the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela, and to exploit the natural resources and administer the wealth of that sisterly nation in what can only be described as the confession of a clear plan of annexation that foresees, among others, the complete obliteration of the inalienable rights of the Venezuelan people, as well as the fundamental rights of the Venezuelan state as a whole. The member states of the Group of Friends of the Defense of the Charter of the United Nations call on all relevant international bodies, including the Security Council and the General Assembly of the United Nations, to swiftly mobilize in order to uphold the purposes and principles enshrined in the Charter of the United Nations, and to urgently take appropriate measures to avoid further escalation of the situation on the ground, particularly additional acts of aggression against the sovereignty and territorial integrity of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela, and preserve both regional and international peace and security. I thank you.
I thank the representative of Eritrea for her statement, and I now give the floor to the representative of Islamic Republic of Iran.
Thank you. In the name of God, the compassionate and merciful, thank you, Mr. President, for convening this emergency and important meeting. We acknowledge the presence of the Undersecretary General Mysticarlo at this meeting and extend our appreciation to Professor.
Oh, I'm sure Iran's not going to like this at all. And for those just joining the stream, this is the United Nations emergency session based off the strike we did on Venezuela and taking Maduro.
I also wish to warmly congratulate the newly elected members of the Council, Bahrain, Colombia, Republic of Congo, Latvia, and Liberia on their election. Mr. President, the Islamic Republic of Iran would like to associate itself with the statement delivered by Eritrea on behalf of the Group of Friends in Defense of the Charter of the United Nations, and wishes to make the following remarks in its national capacity. First, The Islamic Republic of Iran condemns in the strongest possible terms the military attack carried out by the United States of America against the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela. This illegal act constitutes a state terrorism, a manifest violation of Charter of the United Nations, particularly Article 2, Section 4, and Section 7.
And all countries to condemn terrorism. Iran. I mean, they were a big funder of terrorism. Probably still are.
Such military aggression against an independent member state of the United Nations establishes a serious breach of regional and international peace and security, with far-reaching consequences for the international system as a whole. Second, the abduction of democratically elected president and the First Lady of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela by the United States constitute a flagrant violation of customary international law, including the principles of the inviolability of the immunities accorded to the heads of a state and government under international law, and represent a grave assault on the sovereign equality of states. The Islamic Republic of Iran recalls Venezuela's inherent right to self-defense and underscores the legal responsibility of the United Nations, in particular the Security Council, to take immediate measures to halt this unlawful aggression and to ensure accountability for all those responsible. Iran also affirms its full support for the people and legitimately elected government of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela. Third, the United States is openly seeking to substitute its domestic law for international law and the Charter of the United Nations. This represents a serious warning to the international community and to all member states. Such unlawful conduct strikes at the very foundations of the Charter-based international legal order and establishes a dangerous precedent that must be categorically and unequivocally rejected. The so-called declared U.S. policy of peace through strength.
In the meantime, we're still waiting for Maduro to
describe the law of the jungle and the rule of force instead of rule of law, and if tolerated and normalized, would render the collective security system established by the Charter ineffective and devoid of purpose. Fourth, the continued inaction and paralysis of the Security Council in the face of the explicit threat and act of aggression by the United States have fostered a dangerous climate of impunity. It has emboldened the United States to persist in unlawful conduct that poses a grave threat to regional and international peace and security. In recent days,
I think he's having some flashbacks to those bunker busters, right?
Issued public threat of the use of force.
What do you guys think?
The Islamic Republic of Iran in manifest violation of Article 2 of the Charter of the United Nations. At the same time, the United States is shedding crocodile tears for the Iranian people and hypocritically claims to support them while maintaining a well-documented record of intervention, the use of force, and the imposition of unlawful unilateral coercive measures against Iran. This includes its direct political, military, and operational support and involvement for Israeli regime unlawful joint war of aggression against Iran.
He's bringing it up. He's bringing it up, guys.
June 2025.
Of course he's mad about that.
Resulted in loss of civilian life, attacks on civilian infrastructure, and serious violations of fundamental human rights.
Their nuke
people.
Sites were civilian infrastructure. I don't think so.
Affirms its inherent right to defend its sovereignty, territorial integrity, and national security, and to protect its people against any foreign interference. The United States of America will bear full responsibility for consequences arising from its unlawful threats and any ensuing escalation.
Well, Iran would have been okay if they didn't launch rockets and missiles over Israel.
An unwarranted reference made to Iran by the representative of the United States at this meeting. The facts on the ground are clear. Speak loudly for themselves.
Yeah, guys, we're still waiting on this over here.
Political rhetoric or manufactured narrative. I thank you.
I thank the representative of Islamic Republic of Iran, and now give the floor to the representative of Uganda.
Thank you, Mr. President.
All right, Uganda, let's go.
Statement on behalf of the Non-Aligned Movement, NAM, representing 121 member states, united by the shared principle of respect for the sovereignty and territorial integrity of all nations. The Coordinating Bureau of the Non-Aligned Movement, NAM, categorically condemns the act of aggression perpetuated by the United States of America against the Bolivian Republic of Venezuela since the early hours of 3rd January 2026, which included armed attacks against civilian and military locations in the capital city of Caracas, as well as in various other cities of the Venezuelan territory. The Coordinating Bureau of the Non-Aligned Movement notes that attacks in question, which blatantly violate the purposes and the principles enshrined in the Charter of the United Nations, as well as the norms of the international law, constitute an act of war against the Bolivian.
Switch back real quick.
Follow all of the developments. And you can count on Live Now from Fox to bring you continuing reaction as you are taking a live look there from New York City as Maduro and his wife were escorted from court. They're going to make their way back to the Metropolitan Detention Center.
Oh, they must have went out some back door. We were watching the front door. So this is them now being escorted back.
A lot of the media following this right here. Perhaps that is.
That's when my closed doors of that van.
Where they are being held and escorted back. So we do see a lot of the media there running to, travel with that armored vehicle right here as we continue to follow all of the developments. Meanwhile, the United Nations is currently holding an emergency session right now to talk about the situation in Venezuela. All right. Okay, we do have another live look here. This is an aerial view of the same escort that I also wanted to share with you, as it does appear that Maduro is being escorted back to the detention center in Brooklyn, where he and his wife are being held. So this is from a helicopter, as yes, it does appear as though this is the police escorting both Maduro and his wife back to the Brooklyn Detention Center.
I'm assuming Maduro's in this armored vehicle right here.
Sean Diddy Combs is being held, as well as Luigi Mangione, just to name a few of the other individuals who have been held at that detention center in Brooklyn. But we continue to follow this motorcade right here from the aerial vantage point to the helicopter, as we do see there's the armored vehicle and a number of other police vehicles escorting Maduro and his wife back to the detention center where they are currently being held. There is no bail granted. They have agreed to be detained for now. Legal analysts say it's incredibly unlikely, if not impossible.
They agreed to be detained? I don't think they're agreeing to it.
And his wife to have bail, and unfortunately that live look went out. But we did want to share that with you as the helicopter was following the motorcade as it was on its way back to the detention center. A live look there from New York City, and we were sharing with you that the United Nations is holding an emergency session to talk about the situation in Venezuela. We were hearing from U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations, Mike Waltz, as he was speaking. We also heard from the representative of Venezuela, hearing from countries as they share their thoughts and opinions. And happening right now, it does look like the representative of Uganda is speaking. So let's just, at least momentarily, dip into that.
I thank the representative of Uganda for the statement. I now give the floor to the representative of Cuba, who has asked for the floor to make a further statement.
Okay, yeah, Cuba's already gone once. I guess they're wanting to go back up again. Again, this hurts Cuba a lot, guys. Like I said, all the oil comes from Venezuela. It's going to crash their entire economy, their entire country. So
thank you,
look at him this hard.
My delegation feels it must take the floor again to respond to the unfounded accusations formulated by the United States against Cuba. We are indignant that those that have led unilateral aggressions and systematic violations of international law pretend to judge other sovereign states with a totally immoral and irresponsible attitude lacking respect. We fundamentally reject the accusations that Cuba has intelligence assets in Venezuela. These kinds of statements lack any factual base and are a clear attempt to take the eyes of the world off the criminal acts of the United States in the region. Cuba strictly respects the sovereignty, independence, and inalienable right of the Venezuelan people to decide their own destiny, as established by the United Nations Charter. Cooperation between both countries is in multiple spheres, has legitimate bases, and is based on bilateral agreements signed by both parties. As has been declared by the revolutionary government, the 32 combatants that fell in terrorist acts perpetrated by the United States were in missions of the revolutionary forces at the request of Venezuela. Those patriots were heroic in their action, showing solidarity with millions of Cubans. These accusations attempt to suggest that Cuba is involved in this way in Venezuela. We categorically reject that. Thank you.
I thank the representative of Cuba for the statement. There's no more names inscribed on the list of speakers. The meeting is adjourned.
Okay, well, there we go. And so, I mean, with that, we know our stance, right? Mike Waltz spoke. I don't think we got to hear that, but I got to hear what he was going to talk about, yesterday. And he fully, obviously we fully support our own actions. We don't agree with some of the international community. And we did have some people come out and say that it was a good thing, that this will bring peace to the region and all that kind of thing. So, I don't know, guys, it's a slippery slope because, like I said, we deal with Maduro, and now Colombia is on notice. So we go hit Colombia next. Is that the next thing? And then obviously Cuba is not going to be stable, so we have to we go in there now. And then we still get drugs from Mexico, so we're going to hit that next. So, where's the stop? Where's the line drawn? Are we hitting Maduro just because we're saying he's not legitimate? I don't know. We've already threatened Colombia, for example. So, but it looks like the follow-up to this, the next court date is St. Patty's Day, guys. So, look forward to catching up and streaming that then. Again, I'd love to hear some of your guys' opinions on this in the comments. But for now, I'm going to end the stream. Everybody, this is Hex.